Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I'm getting to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our communities. What do they do to get started and what are they doing to stay there? And today, oh man, I have another special guest as we're now in season 2 here in 2021, and we're going to talk to Shannon Mosley. And Shannon is the Chief Human Resource Officer at First Baptist Medical Center. She also, she's passionate. She's got great energy. We met back in Dallas HR, and I am so glad to have you on the show. How you doing today, Shannon?
I'm doing great, Bruce, and I'm so honored to be here. This has been a long time coming, and I'm just excited to be able to share my journey with you.
Oh man, me too. And I was going to also mention that you are also, one of the things I really enjoy doing is doing some research on my guests, and many of the guests I have on the show are people I know, but you were actually recognized as by the National Women's Council as a top 15 Business Women's Award. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was truly an honor and completely a shock to me because you never know who's watching, right? Such a blessing to receive that award. I've been associated with the National Diversity Council for many years and have worked with Dennis Kennedy and his organization, and was so fortunate to be able to kind of share about my background and, just have the honor of being in the presence of so many wonderful, innovative women. So that was truly a highlight of my career.
Oh man, fantastic. Well, I've known you for quite a while and I admire your leadership, and I'm ready to get into some of the things we're going to talk about. You've now moved into a top leadership role as a CHRO. You have lots of experience in talent acquisition. So we're going to talk about a lot of that, and also how we can really help the listeners and the viewers really get off to a good start in the new year. But before we do that, I would love for you, if you could just kind of share a brief highlight of First Baptist Medical Center and how you serve your customers.
Absolutely. So First Baptist Medical Center is tucked away at 75 in Meadow here in Dallas. And honestly, I hadn't heard of the hospital prior to learning about the opportunity here. So the hospital has about 18 beds. It's a surgical specialty hospital. We do bariatric, some spine, plastic, and we have 5 ORs total. And we're looking to expand and have more physicians come do cases here. We're like a little family, about 100 employees, and it's reminiscent of, I would like to say USPI days of old, where I came from, where we had, kind of a smaller company feel. And when I walked through the doors, I felt like I was home. This hospital was started by Dr. Alexander, who is our lead bariatric surgeon. And the facility is beautiful. It's state of the art. It's been open for about 5 years. And, it's a family. It's truly a family environment. And the patients are, of course, coming here and they are getting care to improve their health and their lifestyle. And it's just, it's fun and it's boutique and I love it.
Oh man, that's fantastic. I love how you use the word home. Anytime someone says, hey, this is home, that just tells me that they have joy in their career, joy in what they're doing and leading. And so that's fantastic. Listen, I would love to hear you just kind of start off the show with the Shannon Mosley story, and just share a little bit about, hey, where did you grow up, and how in the world did you get into talent acquisition and HR?
Right. Yeah, no, completely by accident is the short answer. But I'm a rarity. I'm actually a Dallasite, which, most people are transplants that you run into. But I grew up in Allen, Texas, north of Dallas, and actually graduated from Lake Highlands High School in Dallas. At the time, Allen wasn't quite as diverse as I'd liked it to be, so I ended up at Lake Highlands. And then I went on to study at Texas Southern University in Houston. I have family in Houston, and that was an incredible journey as well. I majored in English, had a passion for language and reading and Shakespeare, and it was just a very fantastic time in my life. And I actually met my husband through my kind of real first job, recruiting. And how I got into recruiting is I was working for an IT consulting firm as their receptionist while I was going to college. And I knew that I would, I wanted to, of course, do more and land a job. Went to the branch manager and said, I'd love to be a recruiter if you give me a chance. And he said, but you're a receptionist. And I said, no, I can do so much more. I said, if you give me a chance, I will prove to you that I can be one of your top recruiters. And thank God he took a chance on me, sent me to what was called the Registry University. And actually, that's where I met my husband. We were in the same class, right? He was a recruiter as well. And so what brought me back to Dallas from Houston was him, because he was living here in Dallas. And so we worked together for a few years, and then I ended up at United Surgical Partners, where I was the recruiter. I'd never really worked in healthcare before. I was doing IT recruiting Java developers at the time. It was the whole like Y2K scare. It was crazy. And so I came into USPI completely green, didn't know anything about, surgery centers, had to learn everything. Actually spent 4 weeks in Valley View Surgery Center, and it transformed me in a way that I can't even put into words. I viewed surgeries and I sat in every seat, and that prepared me to be able to understand the needs of the surgery center and what type of talent they needed, from the front office to the executive level positions. Got to know the doctors. It was awesome. It was truly an amazing experience. And so from there, I was very fortunate to have a supervisor that allowed me to grow along with her and her team. And I eventually became a director of recruiting and retention. And then my focus was on talent acquisition. I mainly focused on recruiting senior level individuals that were operators, our regional vice presidents, our CEOs of our hospitals, our administrators, all jobs that were crucial and critical to revenue generation at USPI. I was there for 17 years, so you can imagine leaving was very hard, but they're my family still. Tenant purchased USPI in 2015, so I have some tenant family now as well, but I accidentally got into recruiting. I literally was working at an IT consulting firm and just said, give me a shot, and was blessed to have that opportunity.
Oh man, that is fantastic. I love how you talked about meeting your husband in recruiting. Did you recruit him or did he recruit you?
Well, he says I recruited him, but I say the opposite. So it's an ongoing argument.
Let me ask you this, and we're going to talk about mentors because I love how you talked about being under a wonderful supervisor. Whenever you're changing industries, I mean, is recruiting the same? You just need to know that different industry, or what is that difference, right? I mean, you're recruiting IT, and then you go into healthcare.
Right. So the fundamentals of recruiting, if you're a good recruiter, are basic, and they are the basic skills of being able to pick up the phone and cold call to find the talent that you're looking for. It's the ability to analyze the job description and truly understand what the needs of that supervisor is, and dissect their idiosyncrasies and kind of set the tone to let them know this is realistic, this is a dream. It's really partnering and being a subject matter expert is the core of being a recruiter. So that part, if you're good, you can go anywhere. Now, I will tell you that, clearly I stayed in healthcare because I have a passion for healthcare, but also, me being in a role for 17 years, I really didn't honestly want to have to learn something new, honestly, and at this point in my career. But I would encourage anyone who's younger in their career to not let that hold you back, because recruiting is recruiting no matter what. If you're good at it, and if you are practicing it the right way, you could do any industry.
Oh man, that's fantastic. I love that, because I know there's somebody out there listening right now that needed to hear that. So I appreciate you sharing that. You mentioned that when you were at USPI, you were under some really good leadership or mentorship or even sponsorship. Talk about mentors that have helped you along your way, because I mean, that's one of the things I talk about when I talk about my career. I think I needed so many different people to help me, get to where I am now. Who were some of the people that helped you?
Sure. So when I joined USPI, my supervisor was the VP over organizational development, Kristen Blewett. She's now with Slalom, and What she did was she helped me to think outside of the box, become more strategic. She taught me to look at situations and through various lenses, which was really key. Then I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to work for Sandy Carmen. And you'll notice these are all my supervisors, but it just turned out that way. And it all happened organically. And I don't think any of them knew they were really being a mentor to me, but they were. So Sandy Carmen was the Chief Human Resource Officer for USPI and then Tenet, and now she's at Kimberly-Clark. And what Sandy taught me was to be driven, was to be goal-oriented, and was to pay attention to detail, ensure that the information that I'm imparting to my partner, to my customer, is value add, that I'm thinking through and making sure that, as having a seat at the table and being there with those leaders, that I am definitely adding value through my knowledge, because there are things that I know through the talent acquisition lens that I need to impart, to those senior leaders. So she was really key with that. And then Greg Miller, who is now the SVP over at Accent Care. He was my direct supervisor and VP of Learning and Development at USPI. And Greg taught me a ton. He's a professor, so he's a natural teacher. He helped me to learn more about succession planning, talent management, coaching, mentoring, facilitating training. I mean, truly, he gave me every opportunity to grow. He also helped me build a team of recruiters that started to help USPI in the field with their nursing positions. Truly, Greg helped take me to the next level, so I'm forever grateful for that. Doug Esho, who was a colleague, he was our VP of HR Technology at USPI, also was one that told me to go out of your comfort zone. I don't like to fail. No one likes to fail. So I would always, in my conversations with him, I would be kind of closed off to new things, to say I couldn't do things. And he would say, no, Shannon, you don't even understand what your capabilities are, your potentials are. You need to let go of that fear. So I thank Doug for that. Lastly, I want to call out Kim Kuntz. She was the VP of HR at Tenet. And I didn't report to her, but she and I were colleagues. And what she taught me was also along the lines of strategic thinking and more around employee relations and how to handle really critical situations, those difficult conversations. So every single one of them poured into me and made me who I am, honestly, as a professional. And I'm very grateful.
What a gift. I mean, when you think about that, you are, one time of your career, you're a receptionist. The next thing, you're the CHRO, and it's all of the in between, right? That journey, all of these different people teaching you how to be a thinker, to be goal oriented, to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, wow, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. As you're going through your career, you're a recruiter, and then you go into healthcare, and you're still recruiting, and now you're leading the organization in HR, serving the HR community. Was there a time where you said, I've been doing this a long time, I know I love this because of this? Was there a moment or some small moments that happened during your journey?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, many, honestly. As I mentioned, going back to my USPI family, I became a confidant and someone that our regional vice presidents and our market presidents would call upon when we were looking at the workforce as far as who was high potential, just talking through strengths and opportunities for the people that work for us. And so my epiphany really, as I started to grow into who I am today, was the relationships, Bruce. It was the trust that they had in me, the fact that they would call me and we would have these long conversations about, coaching up or whether we have to coach out. Or we also had a leadership development program at USPI, so I spent a lot of time talking with them about these MBA, MHA students and how to develop them. So, and I just became more and more passionate. I felt like this was my life calling in the sense of helping people. So I'm helping my leaders, and I'm also helping, others that have career goals they're trying to reach.
Doesn't that feel good? I was actually thinking about whenever I joined. So I'm in relocation, helping companies relocate talent. And I remember back in the mid 90s when I joined the organization. I remember thinking this, and this is thinking small, by the way. Look at all the people that are teachers, doctors, and lawyers, and here I am moving furniture. And until I realized that it was so much more than that, I was helping people that were stressful, a time in their lives. And whenever I start, like all of a sudden my perspective, it all changed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love, and that's what I'm like you. I love to help people. And I love how you talk about the importance of relationships. So you're so good at that.
Thank you.
So man, what a journey. And you're just getting started. I love that. Let's talk leadership. What a year 2020 was. And I know, many times, that we need to look back in order to really, move forward. We're working on our goals and trying to figure out how can we achieve business goals in 2021. Just looking back, were there any silver linings for you in 2020, or did you, obviously you've changed to a new role. Anything that you can take from 2020 into 2021?
Well, specifically, I'll call out community, and I'll call out support. Being in this COVID situation has stretched us all in ways that, we never thought were possible. But at both places that I've worked, USPI Tenant and now FBMC, I love the fact that we always kept an eye on trying to focus on our community within the organization, ensuring that our employees were safe, ensuring that they had what they need. Tenant had a care fund for employees that were adversely impacted by COVID and things like that. And then here at FBMC, we make sure that we're looking into FCRA and ensuring that, if someone is impacted by COVID, that we're taking care of them. We want to be conscious about being caring for our employees. So when I look back on 2020, was it a tough year? Absolutely. Being in this role and keeping up with COVID, policies and the latest and greatest is tough. Now we've got the vaccine, but I have to take it back to COVID because even though it stressed us out and may have brought out the worst in some people, I absolutely feel like it was imperative for us to pull together. And so that sense of community is what I take from 2020, and just giving of ourselves, supporting one another.
Man, that is fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that it was a year of check-ins. I was reading a book by, it was Bob Chapman, Everybody Matters. And it talked about, interesting statistic. It talked about 88% of the people that surveyed said that their organization didn't care for, what they thought or how they felt or, what they had to say. And I was like, that's crazy. That number is so high. So I went to a friend who's a mid-tier manager and said, hey, I just read the statistic. What do you think about that? Is this number high? And they said, no, it's probably right on. And I said, well, why would you say that? And she said, because I've been through 3 months of COVID and I haven't been contacted by my leadership. And it really hit me. And so then all of a sudden my eyes were on who is reaching out and checking in. And when you talk about community, I mean, that's a difference maker, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and in times of stress, you really do get to see people for who they really are. Honestly, you do. The good, the bad, the ugly. But luckily, I mainly saw the good.
Yeah, I heard John Maxwell say once time, great leaders, they stand out during times of crisis. And so I love that. We're one of the things I wanted to visit with you on today is, in this new role, in this new year, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how do you and how can we provide the listeners some ideas on getting off to a great start. And I was just curious, what are you like as a top leader in your organization? What are you focused on to really get off to a good start? You hear presidents often talk about having a 100-day plan. I was just curious what you do.
Well, of course, you have to have goals, right? I know that's pretty standard, but Actually, what we are doing here is we're going to have a leadership retreat. And we're going to bring all of our leaders together, and we're going to talk about change management, goal setting, just culture, just ensuring that next year is phenomenal. So me personally, I do tend to have some lists, and I do write down ideas just throughout the day. Honestly, I just write down ideas of things that I want to focus on. In 2021, this job is brand new. It is a blank canvas, and I cannot wait to dive in. I have a lot of really great ideas, if I can say that, to help this hospital to run even more efficiently, work smarter, make things easier. It's just going to be so much fun, and I cannot wait to dive into that. But yeah, I'll be okay. Look, I'll just tell you. So I'll be at home, and I'll think of something, and I will get on my phone and send myself an email, or back in the day I used to leave myself voicemails. Yeah, so I'm a little obsessive, and I do think about work a lot, probably too much for my husband. But even in my personal life, it's about making sure that you're being proactive and thinking things through.
I love that because I do the same thing. I'm getting ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about something, and I'll send myself an email, or I've been driving down the road and left myself a voicemail and things like that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic. Now, do you have for your team, I love the idea of this retreat. I mean, you're basically saying, hey, let's huddle up. Let's huddle up. And that's what you're doing. And I love that. Do you have like at your organization, do you have like a leadership development program, or what does that look like?
Right, that's a great question. So again, I just got here. I've only been here 8 weeks, if you can believe it. I feel like I've been here for 2 years, and that's in a good way. As I mentioned at USPI, we had the leadership development program there, and this is a hospital with 100 employees, right? Like they don't typically have interns or leadership development associates. At least they didn't. And so that was one of the first things that I suggested, and had the support of the CEO, who also came from USPI. And of course, I'm well networked with my MBA and MHA students, and so we were able to hire 2. Now, is there a structured, buttoned up step-by-step program ironed out here? No, I've only been here 8 weeks, but these young people that we brought on board were familiar with me through other connections, and so they kind of know what our program was like at USPI. So we're essentially just having them rotate through different departments, and it's been fantastic. They've been such a value add. We're getting the benefit of their brain, and of course, they are also learning a ton. So do we have a formal program? No, but the hospital has been very receptive, and everyone can't wait to work with our leadership development associates. So I'm so happy. That's another gift, in a way, that I'm bringing to the hospital.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that, just like you talked about, just being able to huddle up, getting everybody together, get everybody on the same page, move forward together. I know one of the things that when I was taking my certification back at Dallas HR, of course, you were in that class back in the day. And one of the things I often hear, and I would love to hear your comments on this, is that a lot of times different companies, or I might talk to some different people in the company, and they're like, yeah, my company doesn't really have that, or they don't really train me. What do you have to say for that? Are there ways for people to not just rely on the organization, but are there some ways to skill up on their own?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just going to be a parent for a second, because I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, they ask me questions, and I say things like, I'm not going to answer that because you've got Google, you've got the internet, like you have every piece of information at your fingertips. So I'm going to use that same kind of analogy here, which is anytime I'm feeling like I need to, look into a certain skill that I may be lacking, or read up on anything that is related to HR, type it into Google. And sincerely, there are a ton of free resources out there. I found a course on kind of a quick course on HR 101 for like $149, and you get all this information. I mean, so it doesn't have to cost a lot. And so I'll tell people that, you can't rely on your employer. It's not really their responsibility to ensure that you're getting what you need as far as your career development. Now, they can help you, and if they're generous, they may pay for you to go to, a webinar or a seminar or whatever. Some companies also have the tuition reimbursement, which is awesome. But truly, it's, I think people make the mistake of like, well, my manager didn't, guide me. Well, a lot of managers don't even have that skill set to be able to guide you, unfortunately. So it's up to you to take control of your destiny, to be kind of corny. But there are books, you've got the internet, there's no excuse. There's so much information out there that whatever it is that you're looking for to do next, you can absolutely find your pathway.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I love the term Google it. No, that's fantastic because it's so true. I mean, there's just so much out there. But it also, when you talk about you taking that class, it took you having the courage to sign up and go. I had Suzanne Myers on the show recently, and she talked about in her new role as a VP of HR, she noticed that a lot of the leaders were reading the Wall Street Journal because she worked for a publicly traded company. So she had never done that before. So she decided she was going to start a discipline of reading the Wall Street Journal. And she said 6 months later, all of a sudden she feels like she's part of that conversation. What about, I would often talk about momentum. And I think that that's one of the things that, when we have momentum, we feel like we're like really moving along. And when we don't have it, we feel like we're just absolutely stuck. What are some other things that people can do in the new year just to kind of get some momentum? We talked a little bit about skilling up. Is it networking? What are just a couple other things that possibly people could do to get momentum?
Right, and it's a tough time, I'll tell you. I talk to people about this a lot. So you already touched on it. I mean, honestly, as much as people probably hate to hear this, it truly is networking. I'm very, very fortunate to have a lot of different tribes of people in my life professionally that I can call upon whenever I'm looking for information on, how do I dive into this, or whatever it is that I'm inquiring about. I have folks that I can tap on the shoulder in my network that can help me kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. So I would just say use your network, and that can be church, it can be your schoolmates, it can be whoever, your neighbors. You just never know. There's a lot of like virtual groups, as you guys know. There's a Meetup and all these other different types of mediums where you can connect with people that can help you. I mean, it's a lot of times a perfect stranger can help you, and it's awesome. I mean, we're so socially connected. There's no reason to not be able to find what you're looking for.
I love how you shared that because I heard Steve Brown share this at the SHRM conference in 2019, and he said that everyone needs at least 5 people outside the workplace just to network with, just to have conversations with, just outside that workplace. And so I think networking has got to be part of that strategy because there's, especially like you said today, it's tough, right? A lot of people feel a case of isolation, especially people that are even working remotely. And so networking can definitely give you some momentum. And I share all the time. It's just a matter of just reaching out and just saying, hey, can you help me with this? Or, hey, I'd love to learn more about you, or whatever that is. Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, man. Oh, so we're talking about, you lead a team, but I would love to shift gears just a little bit and talk about leading yourself. One of the things I try to do is I try to pull out a practice from a leader, a high-performing leader, something that you do every day that helps you keep on track. Is there a discipline or a practice that you have that you do every day?
Okay, so it's kind of silly, and this is the truth, and it's a sticky note, and that's so, like, I know it's like old, but sincerely, typically I will have many, many things that I'm trying to accomplish in a day, right? Of course, now being in this role, I get pulled into different meetings unexpectedly, which is totally fine. So usually at the end of the day is when I can start to reassess kind of how the day went and what I missed. So of course, from an electronic perspective, I'll go to my email and just make sure I answered everyone. And if I didn't, then I need to let them know I'll get back with them the next day. And then I also honestly just take a sticky note, and anything that's a priority, I write it on there and I stick it on the computer because honestly, I'm getting older. And I'm the type of person, if I don't do it when I'm thinking about it, unfortunately, it'll get buried because we are moving at lightning speed here at this hospital. And even, USPI, Tenet, I would get hit with multiple situations in a day, supporting different functions, right? So, Bruce, I know it sounds really goofy, but it is as simple as from an email perspective, going back through and I'm very, very, very meticulous about getting back with people quickly. I believe in customer service. I do not like when I send someone an email and I don't hear from them for 2 or 3 days. That's not acceptable. If I text you, you better text me right back too, because I'm on top of my customer service skills, I will tell you. So it's the email, and then it's also as simple as a sticky note to ensure that I don't forget something that's very important.
No, I listen, I appreciate you sharing that. I love that. The sticky note, old school. But you know what? Here's what I find, and this is what I find with you too. Regardless if it's a sticky note, whatever that is, it's a system, right? You have created a system that allows you to stay on track, regardless of what it is. And that's why I try to share with anybody that's listening is that it really, I always use the term find your lane. And you have to find what works for you. And so I love that. And I love how you talk about the importance of customer service. I once wrote an article about the push pull. It was basically the push pull approach. And what it was this, or basically what it said was the people that push information, the people on the other end seem to think that, oh man, they are on top of their game. But when you have to pull information from people, like they're not getting back with you, all of a sudden you look at them a little bit differently.
Indeed, you do. I mean, I'm guilty. I know. I judge them.
Yeah.
I just have high standards. I have high standards. So yeah.
I love it. Hey, standards. I absolutely love that. Hey, let me ask you this, and the time is just moving along. I want to ask you, what have you ever been given any advice that was so good that you find yourself sharing with others in your career?
Yes. This kind of goes to my female population out there, the women that I've come across in my career and that have been mentors, and then those that I've tried to mentor. So sorry, guys. I mean, this can go for you too, but it's kind of funny how I'm going to say this. So for women specifically, when you're looking to do something different that you've never done before, say you're looking at a new job or you're looking to join a committee or join a board, what women tend to do is they look at the job description or the spec and they say, oh, I can only do 50% of this. I probably shouldn't go for it. Whereas men will say, oh, I can do 15% and I'm going for it. Especially with the students that I've been involved with and mentored over the years, I always tell them that, don't look at it that's the half empty approach, like thinking what you cannot do. I had to self-talk to even take this role, honestly, to myself, to say, you know what, you can either learn or you can study and prepare yourself and you will do well, okay? Don't be afraid to take that leap. Don't let that doubt, that self-talk that we all have convince you out of your next phenomenal opportunity, because this has been a blessing for me. But I think that's meaningful and hopefully it resonates.
Oh man, that's so good. That's so good. You mentioned, I love that. Go for it. And I've heard that before. I've heard that women leaders look at things differently than men. Men are looking at like, hey, I'm going for it. And the women are like, can I go for it? And so I love your message there. And when I look at you and other women leaders, they're the people that they went for it. And I have a lot of admiration for anyone who just goes for it. You talked about failure earlier. I have a love-hate relationship with failure. I mean, I hate failing, but I love failure because I learn from failure so much. Oh man. So, so what do you say to people that like, okay, so let's talk about, women leaders thinking about not going for it because I might fail. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's the old adage of, you learn from failure, okay? You learn what not to do, you learn what works, you learn about yourself as a human, honestly, and how you react to stress. So it's a lot of learnings in failure. It's awful when it happens. I mean, I am a total people pleaser, firstborn child, and when I fail, I beat up myself so badly. It is the worst. That little voice is like yelling in my ear. So no one likes to fail, but it is part of your journey. It's part of your process to get better.
Yeah, I will tell you that's me too. That's one of my weaknesses. I want to please everyone. And one of the things is, so of course I'm in relocation. And when you're moving, you probably know this well, not every move goes perfect. And
Right.
when they don't, even though if I didn't have anything to do with it, I feel so bad because I set this
Mm-hmm.
high standard and these high
Mm-hmm.
expectations, and it just really gets me. However, I'm better every time that happens. I get better and
Right.
better and better, right?
Yep.
So I love what
Yeah.
you said about that. That's so important. Another thing you mentioned that I caught while you were making that comment is you mentioned that when you mentor others, and so I asked you about people that have mentored you, but you also mentor others too. As a matter of fact, I was at a part of a Dallas HR mentorship program, and we have a mutual friend, Morgan, who I was mentoring, and then I saw where she had a celebration, and then you're back in the background, engaging, clapping, celebrating. So you were mentoring her too. What is it that you enjoyed most about mentoring?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? First of all, I just like with my leaders, I get really close with the young people the students that I've been so fortunate to mentor. I learn about them as a person, their family, what drives them, just idiosyncrasies about them. I really learn about their personalities, and that part is so fulfilling to me. I get so much joy out of watching their journey to reach their dreams. So the most special thing is the fact that I still talk to a lot of them. I mean, Morgan, of course, is near and dear to my heart. I just texted her the other day because it was her birthday, and I think I try to remember all their birthdays, and I check in on them and watch their progress. But it really does feed my soul to see them grow and to know that some of those critical conversations that we had that were difficult helped mold them into what they've become. And so they are all special to me, every single one of them. They really are.
Oh man, I've got chills right now. You talking about this because I know that feeling when you talk about it feeds your soul, it feeds your spirit. Whenever you're able to help someone along the way, that's absolutely. Also just kind of stay on this topic just for a second. A lot of times, I think you said that's at the first of the show too, is that we're also modeling leadership for people that we don't even know that they're watching us, right? People are
Exactly.
watching us all the time. And so it's so important that whenever we're making decisions or we're deciding to skill up or we're deciding to connect, that people are watching how we approach that. Isn't that true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's just like your kids are watching you, right? It's the same thing. I mean, you've got leaders watching you and your coworkers and when and when you're not even thinking that they're paying attention. It's true.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Oh man, that's so good. Oh man. So let's go ahead and we're going to shift into what I call it's time to accelerate as we kind of get close to the end of the show. And I like to ask a few questions to kind of with the guests. And so first question, book or podcast?
Well, I was an English major, so it's got to be book. Even though I love podcasts, I do listen to them in the car, and I'm doing one, but book, most definitely.
Fantastic. Do you have any like favorites or I know there's like, you probably have so many, any one stick out?
Well, so again, back to my women. I just read How Women Rise, and that's a great book. So I would say, and you should absolutely check that out.
How Women Rise. I will put that in the show notes. So if somebody wants to check that book out, they can definitely do
Yeah.
that. Oh man, that is so good. Hey, what energizes you?
Oh man, fellowship, friendship, um, just and forward motion. seeing the fruits of my labor and my team's labor is so fulfilling. Yeah, but fellowship is number one.
That's fantastic. We are now into the, first quarter of 2021. But fourth quarter of 2020, everybody's, getting close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and everybody starts talking about gratitude. And I always think about how important that is all year long. And I would would like to ask you, what are you grateful for?
Of course, my faith and my family. I have a daughter, Nia, son Xavier, my husband Derek, and they are what I do this for. I do this for them. And I'm so grateful for my extended family as well, but I really do this for them. My daughter thinks she might want to major in healthcare administration, so I was like, okay, you won't be a nurse, that's all right, you could be healthcare administration. Maybe I had a little bit of influence, but sincerely, it's my family.
Oh man, I love that. That's so fantastic. I actually was thinking earlier, I was thinking I need to connect my daughter with you as well. She's a registered dietitian.
Yes,
And
do
so,
it.
yeah, for sure. Oh man, I love that. That is fantastic. Gratitude. I just did a presentation on gratitude leadership, and as I called it, great leaders are grateful leaders. And when I look at your leadership, that's what I think of: great leader, grateful leader. And so that's absolutely fantastic. Okay, man, this is the final question. And this is one of my favorite questions that I like to ask. And here's the question. And the question is this: Shannon, 10 years older, she's like knocking at your door today, and you open that door. What is she going to say to you?
Yeah, she's going to say, don't sweat the small stuff. Like, let it go. And the future is yours. You have to manifest what you want to do, and it will become into a reality. I used to keep a diary, and I go back and I read it, and honestly, I'm doing what I wanted to do. That 20-year-old Shannon, that I read that diary, and I smile because I was able to reach my goals, and I'm very happy for that. It's a blessing.
Oh my gosh. Hey, I just have to ask you this. Do you still journal today?
I do, not as much, because I have to admit, not as much, but I do try to, I actually keep a book for the kids where I write little special notes in there for them.
Yeah.
And then I also just write down my feelings every now and again, but not as much as I would love to. That English major in me would love to do it more. But we have a holiday coming up, so hopefully I can slow down a little bit and do that.
Well, that's fantastic. Listen, I so appreciate you coming on to the show today, sharing your wisdom and your perspective. You're definitely driving in the leadership lane. Hey, if someone wanted to connect with you or get to know a little bit more about your organization, how's the best way they would connect?
Oh, of course, it's LinkedIn. I'm not that sophisticated to be like on Twitter and all that, or Instagram professionally. But LinkedIn, Shannon January Mosley, you can find me out there, and everything's current. So yeah, if you'd like to reach out, please do. I have a wonderful network and love networking. So yeah, I'd love to help people.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will make sure and put that link in the show notes if you want to connect. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you. And most importantly, I appreciate your friendship and the way you approach leadership. That means so much.
Yes, no, Bruce, we've known each other for many years, and I'm very honored again that you asked me to join your podcast, and just wish you the best. Happy holidays.
Awesome. I cannot wait to share our conversation. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, take care.